1 is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. 2 can be as bad as 1. It's the loneliest number since the number 1. The third one. We're reviewing the third one.
You're gonna regret this.
The movie features Luke and his droids along with Princess Leia visiting the home of my ex-wife to rescue their friend Han Solo, eventually doing so, but he's a little disoriented and blind.
Who are you?
Someone who loves you.
George Lucas! After the rescue scene, loads of bad guys fall down in Miley Cyrus's vagina and the heroes soon escape. The Emperor and the rest of the Galactic Empire are constructing a second Death Star to destroy the Rebel Alliance once and for all, while the good guys prepare for battle, leading a strike team but failing, having incredible chase scenes through the set of Blair Witch and succeeding, and Luke finally revealing a secret to Leia.
My father has it. I have it. My sister has it. It's you, Leia.
I know. Somehow. I've always known. I've always known. I've always known. I've always known. I've always known.
You dirty bitch. Alec Guinness hates these movies so much he's back yet again. Eventually Luke confronts his father who, along with the Emperor, tests Skywalker to try to turn him to the dark side, almost succeeding until, well, we'll get onto that. And naturally they all save the day. Whew. What a ride this trilogy has been. And it's not even nearly over.
Oh, great.
Much like its predecessor, Lucas self-funded Return of the Jedi and again opted to not direct, quickly searching for someone, soon approaching David Lynch for his work on The Elephant Man, but he turned him down. David Cronenberg was then contacted, but he also rejected the offer before Lucas finally settled on Richard Marquand. What a name.
Doesn't sound so bad.
Despite not being the primary director, Lucas did confess to being a frequent B-camera operator on set, as Marquand wasn't experienced in special effects, but in regards to the director, he did call him a very nice person who worked well with the actors. You should try it, George. Just once, you know.
As you wish.
Co-writer Lawrence Kasdan had originally told Lucas that Return of the Jedi was a really weak title, so it was later changed to Revenge.
Revenge!
It didn't last long, as we'll get onto, but it was later used for another film of the series instead. The question if Harrison Ford was going to return or not was still present during pre-production due to the success of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Producer Howard Kazanjian claimed, "I played a very important part in bringing Harrison Ford back for Return of the Jedi." Harrison, unlike Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, signed only a 2-picture contract, which is why he was frozen in carbonite in The Empire Strikes Back. When I suggested to George we should bring him back, I distinctly remember him saying that Harrison would never return. I had just recently negotiated his deal for Raiders of the Lost Ark with Phil Gersh of the Gersh Agency. I called Phil, who said he would speak to Harrison for me. When I called back again, Phil was on vacation. David, his son, took the call and we negotiated Harrison's deal. When Phil returned to the office several weeks later, he called me back and said I had taken advantage of his son during the negotiations. I had not, but agents are agents.
My mistake.
Harrison Ford even wanted his character to be killed through self-sacrifice, which the writers agreed with, saying it should happen right at the start of the film to doubt whether or not the others would actually make it out alive, but George Lucas is always heavily against good ideas and rejected it completely. He literally said he wanted a happier ending just to encourage higher merchandise sales. Classy, George. Classy.
Your overconfidence is your weakness.
Yoda originally wasn't going to be in the film at all, which would have made no sense, and Obi-Wan Kenobi was almost even brought back to life using the Force. I wonder who thought those ones up.
How do you know?
Filming began on January the 11th, 1982 through to May 20th that same year, lasting 6 weeks shorter than the previous picture. Lucas wanted to avoid going over budget like an Empire, and they saved the company approximately $18 million. It shows at times. The movie was kept secret under the title of Blue Harvest to prevent attention from fans and the press. Filming began in London before relocating to Arizona and then finally California to finish things off.
And you said it was pretty here.
Post-production this time around was by far the most physically draining. Due to the success of the previous two, the special effects team had a lot more pressure and had to keep raising the bar, the deadline being April the 1st, 1983. I would have given them shit special effects just for an April Fool's prank. Actually, I think they did, but we'll get onto that later. Makes a lot more sense now. And they were working 20 hours a day, 6 days a week to get it all perfect, consisting of a total of 900 special effects shots.
It'll take time.
Return of the Jedi was released on May the 25th, 1983, exactly 6 years to the day of the first movie, originally teased as Revenge of the Jedi.
Revenge!
Until Lucas decided that a Jedi should not be seeking revenge at all and quickly changed it back. I like how the guy who supposedly created this entire saga and characters didn't realise what a Jedi was all about until the movie was being fucking released.
You're gravely mistaken.
The exact number is unknown, but the movie grossed somewhere between $475 million and $572 million worldwide and was incredibly well received. Aren't they always? So far, at least.
That's right.
Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars, James Kendrick of Q Network Film Desk called it a magnificent experience, Gerald Clark of Time magazine said, while it's not as exciting as the first Star Wars film, it was better and more satisfying than The Empire Strikes Back. Vincent Canby of the New York Times, who loved A New Hope and slated Empire, called Return of the Jedi the dimmest adventure of the lot. Is that a compliment or an insult?
I never expressed any unhappiness with my work.
After the movie was re-released in 1997 with new and worse CGI effects, we'll get to that, James Berardinelli from RealViews.net stated, although it was great fun re-watching Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back again on the big screen, Return of the Jedi just doesn't generate the same sense of enjoyment. And while Lucas worked diligently to reinvigorate each entry into the trilogy, Jedi needs more than the patches of improved sound, cleaned up visuals and a few new scenes. Still, despite the flaws, this is still Star Wars and as such represents a couple of lightly entertaining hours spent with characters we have gotten to know and love over the years. Return of the Jedi is easily the weakest of the series, but its position as the conclusion makes it a must-see for anyone who has enjoyed its predecessors.
I wish I had your confidence.
The movie won a Special Achievement Award at the Oscars for the Best Visual Effects and was also nominated for Best Art and Set Direction, Best Sound, Best Effects and Best Original Score for John Williams. The picture also won a BAFTA for Best Visual Effects and they won 4 Saturn Awards for Best Actor, Best Costumes, Best Makeup and Best Special Effects, as well as numerous other unsuccessful nominations, but winning the Golden Screen Award in Germany once again.
Many Bothans died to bring us this information.
For the 3rd time, a novelization by James Caan was released on May the 12th, 1983, just over 2 weeks before the movie came out. Marvel published yet another adaptation, another book and record set was made that same year, and we got a radio drama version in 1996 written by Brian Daley. Anthony Daniels reprised his role as C-3PO, but the rest of the cast were voiced by different actors, and production ended on February the 11th, 1996. Unfortunately, just hours after celebrating its completion, writer Brian Daley died of pancreatic cancer. The cast and crew recorded a get well message, but he never got a chance to hear it or the show. This is, however, included in the Star Wars Trilogy Collector's Edition box set and it's dedicated to his memory. Was it better than A New Hope? I think so, by far. Was it better than The Empire Strikes Back? In certain ways.
This can't be.
I'll go over what I didn't like in a bit, but as for now, I'll say that it continues the excitement from the very beginning, and I can really sense the closeness of the characters in this one. I really feel like we've joined them along this epic journey, and that they're a real family by this point. Sometimes literally, but we'll get onto that in a second.
Oh dear.
Mark Hamill really comes out of his shell here. He was great in Empire, but he surpassed his own performance and became such a badass and a really iconic character. At this point, we've really grown to love and sympathise with him. He's had such an emotional roller coaster, so when he fights his father again, it's so different to the first time because the circumstances have dramatically changed. The confrontation does kind of drag a bit though. I'm sorry, I just feel like it takes a little while to... Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. 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 Oh, yeah. Wow, I'm not even exaggerating here. In Empire, sure the fight was epic and so climactic, but here, knowing he's his father, knowing he murdered his mentor Obi-Wan Kenobi, knowing he's tried killing his friends, knowing he's trying to turn him to the dark side, and then he even brings his sister into the mix, the emotional flip out is astounding. You really feel the sense of emotion coming from Luke, and Mark Hamill nails it perfectly. This is honestly the best fight sequence so far, the best climax so far, and it's 100% perfect. Well, it was. In the original release. Until Lucas went back and made some re-edits. Oh, of course he did. And he dubbed this in. No! You had a great scene there that didn't make the audience burst out laughing. You just couldn't let it slide, could you? Darth saves his son and kills the Emperor, which is a great moment, but that dub was just so unnecessary and it kinda kills the momentum of the scene with unintentional humour.
Come on, let's keep a little optimism.
The touching moment where Luke unmasks his father is also really emotional, and the whole party at the end feels earned. It feels like all three movies finally culminated here, and it's really well deserved. It did seem at one point like the third act was dragging a bit, but it soon picked right back up and delivered the greatest third act yet, just for that one saber fight. Although I thoroughly enjoyed A New Hope, it was basic, had some poor acting, and a really annoying protagonist, and stupid moments that just so happened to be outweighed by amazing action. This is similar, it does have problems, but much more enjoyable and a much more solid script, really investing its time on the audience growing to care for these characters dearly.
He agrees!
But, despite having a better climax, and despite having a better third act, it's not better than Empire. Simply for the fact that this movie does have a lot of problems. It's still great, I love Return of the Jedi, it's an amazing movie, and the positives definitely outweigh the negatives, but there's a lot of problems that people don't acknowledge or refuse to admit because apparently these films are just flawless in their eyes. Does this actually say fuck you? Sure sounds like it. And this one sounds like he just said he caught him wanking. You crafty bastard, Lucas.
I know that you are powerful, mighty Jabba, and that your anger with Solo must be equally powerful.
Which is exactly why I sent these two pathetic droids ahead of me to try to stop you. I mean, I know R2-D2's a badass, but C-3PO's a bit of a pussy, what the hell? This droid sounds exactly like Richard O'Brien.
You're a feisty little one, but you'll soon learn some respect.
There's no joke there, just sounds exactly like Richard O'Brien.
Luke's crazy. He can't even take care of himself, much less rescue anybody.
What? Fuck you! How many times has he saved your asses? Hell, in the first movie, he destroys the fucking Death Star, you arsehole, and you got your ass kidnapped how many times? I'd just like to point out here that Jabba the Hutt, whose special effects, by the way, have vastly improved since the first movie, which is weird considering all the redone CGI and all three films were done at the exact same fucking time, Jabba the Hutt actually has Princess Leia on his crotch. I mean, I don't blame him, I'm just saying. And now, for one of the dumbest moments in movie history. There is no words for how truly moronic this is. Honestly, there should be an award ceremony for this. So much stupidity in one tiny piece of dialogue. It's quite extraordinary. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the clip.
You told me Vader betrayed and murdered my father.
Your father was seduced by the dark side of the Force. He ceased to be Anakin Skywalker and became Darth Vader. When that happened, the good man who was your father was destroyed. So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
And there we have it. The very moment George Lucas lost all credibility as a writer. I say George Lucas because he's the only one on earth who'd be stupid enough to write something like that. And even if he didn't, somebody else wrote it and he allowed it to be put in the film, so I'm going to blame him anyway.
Don't be so sure.
Okay, so yeah, it's clearly a plot hole that Obi-Wan never told Luke that Darth Vader was his dad. I get that, but this is the thing. You don't need to call attention to your own plot hole, Lucas. This isn't even like it's a fourth wall, self-aware jab at its own stupid logic. This is a serious sequence. I mean, there's other bullshit you don't acknowledge, I'll get to that in a second. But if you're happy to ignore and refuse to even mention that shit, why do you need to bring this one up? What you're ultimately saying is, nuh-uh. I said Darth Vader killed your dad. Technically, I'm right. Technically, I didn't lie. Technically, no, you can't be mad. You can't be mad, Luke. Technically, I told you the truth. No, Obi, you didn't tell him because Lucas didn't write it yet. Realistically, you'd be like, yeah, mate, yeah, Darth's your dad. Go get him. He's right over there. Go kill him, yeah. Well, no, Lucas, you did not need to try to fix this. You didn't need to backtrack and try to fix your own shit, okay? You done fucked up. Just admit, you done fucked up. This is one of the worst written plot points I've ever seen.
I can feel your anger.
We didn't need an explanation, and even if you really wanted one, I'm sure you could have come up with something better than this. Why not say, I don't know, Obi just wanted Luke to find out on his own, or that he was trying to protect Luke and therefore he couldn't break the news to him. Or how about Obi-Wan was just an arsehole, considering he's been a prick the past two films anyway? This is a huge issue for me and ruins a big chunk of this movie that's still somewhat enjoyable, but the sheer asinine stupidity gives me a brain tumor just thinking about it, so I better move on.
Leia's my sister.
Oh my god, I made out with my sister. That's gross!
What is it?
We came out the exact same womb, and yet you stuck your tongue in my mouth in the last film, but I'm not even the least bit disturbed by this, and none of the fan base are going to complain or even acknowledge it, and they think it's completely okay. This looks like Danny DeVito just raided the costume room and threw on a bear outfit. It looks hilarious.
My son is with them.
Are you sure?
I have felt him.
Great, because, you know, why just stop at incest? Why not throw a bit of paedophilia in there as well? So there's a sequence where the heroes get kidnapped by some Ewoks and they're all tied up, but apparently they believe C-3PO is a god of some kind and worship him. But for some reason he doesn't tell them to let his friends go until Leia tells him to.
3PO, tell them they must be set free.
Oh yes, maybe that would be a good idea. My bad. Bit of a dick C-3PO, just saying. That was a terrible C-3PO impression.
I must obey my master.
Darth Vader was a pussy-whipped villain bitch long before Bane was. Now, watch this. That actually worked. Something a 6-year-old would try. And it worked on a stormtrooper. Why do I get the feeling this is when George Lucas decided to sneak into the writing room when the others were out for lunch and they just caught him in the act? And then Harrison Ford taps the stormtrooper on the shoulder and just runs behind him and gets away.
George, what are you doing?
Jar Jar Binks!
You, like your father, are now mine.
Which means I can molest you anytime I like. What was that? Is all of this movie unintentional humor?
You love him, don't you?
Yes, he's my brother.
But didn't you make out with him? Yeah, it's a big turn on when we share a chromosome. Seriously, I need a rant about this.
Quietly.
So I have asked fellow Star Wars fans about this. Fans who are more in love with the films than I am, and they've claimed it was an innocent peck on the lips. Firstly, I've asked many girls who have brothers or many guys who have sisters, and they're all grossed out by the fact of just innocently kissing their sibling on the lips. Secondly, how the hell is this an innocent peck on the lips? She's trying to make Han Solo jealous and proper lays one on Luke full on. This is a makeout, a tongue tango, a spit swap, tonsil tennis. If she had gum in her mouth, it would end up in Luke's diarrhea extract.
Oh my goodness.
And no one bats an eye. I know that she didn't know that it was a brother when she made out with him, but they never even acknowledge it. When Luke finds out, he's not disturbed. When Leia finds out, she claims she always knew, so that means she made out with him knowing he's her brother. What the fuck? And even when her own boyfriend finds out, he's not weirded out either. The hell is wrong with you people? The hell is wrong with George Lucas thinking incest is okay? And the fans just ignore it, deny it, or pretend it never happened. So if you're gonna refuse to acknowledge the past that they had romantic relations, why did you need to acknowledge your own plot hole? To be fair, Han Solo kind of redeems any douchebag moments he's ever had by assuming Luke and Leia are an item before he finds out their relations and offers to step to one side so that she can be happy. That's a really nice and sweet sentiment, so he's really evolved over the 3 films and I like that, but the problem is Harrison Ford clearly gave no shits about this film whatsoever.
Second thought, let's pass on that, huh?
Despite how much of an arsehole his character may have been, he was always great in the role, but here, he's fucking awful! I mean, don't get me wrong, when he first appears as blind and really shaken up, his acting is tremendous. But after that, he was past caring and half-arsed everything. No, actually, he quarter-arsed it. Nope, screw that. He 1/100th of arsed it.
I'm afraid that our 2 senses can find no trace of Princess Leia.
I hope she's alright.
What? That's your reaction? Your girlfriend's missing and might be dead. I hope she's alright. I show more emotion when my phone is missing!
What did he say?
Did it rhyme with Smazzy Award?
Come on, tell me, what's going on?
We're firing you because you lost all your acting ability. Don't worry, we'll bring you back in a couple decades just to kill you off. But it's fascinating because here he rapidly goes from underacting to overacting using every single muscle in his entire face all at once.
Well, why don't you use your divine influence and get us out of this?
Why don't you use your acting ability to do something convincing? But sadly, Harrison is not the only one who's lost it.
Only the fighters are attacking. I wonder what those Star Destroyers are waiting for.
Probably for me to do a convincing read.
That blast came from the Death Star.
My acting came from a bad class. Seriously, did everyone just say fuck it for this film? The special effects have also dropped. You can tell they lowered the budget here. Some are decent, but for the most part, it's like a bad scene from Ants, not fucking Star Wars. The money would have been worth it, George, honestly, it would have been. But like A New Hope, all the redone CGI are also blatantly obvious and look horrendous. Apparently they were also done for The Empire Strikes Back, but not once did I ever notice any of them. None of them were bad or stood out, and they just looked like the original film. Here in the first one, they're so fake and blatant and ruin the whole look of the picture. This looks like a bad Final Fantasy game. A bad one. A very, very bad one. Like I say, the action and characters outweigh the negatives, and the last act really saves the film and surpasses A New Hope. The second best of the original trilogy in my mind, and a damn good watch. But the series didn't end there.
I assure you, Lord Vader, my men are working as fast as they can.
After such huge hits like Jurassic Park, George Lucas decided that technology and special effects had become so advanced that he was now able to go back and not only improve the look of the original films, but also bring out a fourth installment beginning the dreaded prequel trilogy that is now hated by so many, even bringing Lucas back into the director's chair. The Phantom Menace was released on May the 19th, 1999, Attack of the Clones on May the 16th, 2002, and finally Revenge of the Sith on May the 19th, 2005. The crazy thing about the Star Wars series is that there seems to be a split between fans. People who grew up with the originals slate the prequels and refuse to acknowledge any positives in them whatsoever, refusing to give many compliments at all. On the other side, there's the younger fans who adore the prequels and grew up with them and give the original trilogy the exact same treatment, slating them for very little reason.
I must be allowed to speak.
Now, none of the prequels are actually in this book, so I won't be doing a full detailed retrospective review of them, but there is still quite a bit to talk about, so I'll be doing a separate video discussing them. For now, I just want to talk about why the originals are loved, why the prequels are hated, what the differences are, and what I personally think. It's really weird because in the prequels there's a lot of exposition, an awful lot, so it grows quite boring. I'm all for talking and development, but when you bore your audience silly, there's a huge problem. But when you really think about it, it's both a gift and a curse. The villains in the prequels actually have more motivation, and their plans are a lot more thought out, intelligent and believable, whereas the originals is just blow them up and kill them. I love the originals, and yes, I do believe it's the superior overall trilogy, but the prequels develop more, so why is it that they're so hated? Attack of the Clones, the entire movie is focused on developing the romance between Anakin and Padme, so why does everybody hate it? Han Solo and Princess Leia have little to no development, they just love each other and shoot things. I'm not saying Anakin and Padme was perfect, far from it, and I'll go over that in the other video, but they get far more development, as does Obi-Wan. Kenobi in the prequels actually comes across a far more decent guy, and he has 3 movies for you to really grow invested in his character and to like him before the huge climax in Revenge of the Sith. In the originals, he was just there and was a bit of a dick. Furthermore, Anakin may whine at times, but he clearly has a reason to do so, unlike Luke, who bitches in the first movie before anything bad even happens. Anakin and Sith are some of the best character development I've ever seen, and I don't want to talk too much about it before the other video, but what I will say is this. It seems people mostly dislike the prequels because of the writing, but the characters have a lot more development behind them because of it. The originals, however, didn't really need it. The originals may have had very little development, but the actors really made the roles come alive, and the sets and effects and stories made it memorable. With the exception of Revenge of the Sith, the original trilogy was far more memorable than the prequels and will always stick inside your memory forever. The originals focus more on entertaining you with incredible imagery, great sets and memorable acting performances. The prequels focus more on the storytelling and writing, and I think both benefit because of it. Don't get me wrong, the sets in the prequels look amazing, but it wasn't their main focus. They're both very different trilogies, and that's a good thing, but I feel like that's what people don't like about it, because the second trilogy is so different to the first. I enjoyed both, a weird concept I know, but I find it illogical to just hate the prequels because you feel you need to, or vice versa. Let's just all enjoy the Star Wars franchise together rather than attacking anyone who disagrees. It's a great series, let's just enjoy it and not abuse it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to watch my other Star Wars reviews. I also do a different series with other film reviews and thoughts and comedy sketches. And I'll see you in the next video. Oh shit, man, I think I made a bit of a mess. Oh.